there, all of us can be like, this is the DAO. We're members of a DAO that will make decisions for Giveth, and that's pretty cool. And I think we'll like learn more about how we can do that the best as we evolve. But this is I think it's like the big experiment that we get to model being part of a DAO, and that's my favorite part about being a unicorn, at least. I'll pass it to Danny.
Yeah, for me, when I think about being a unicorn, the thing I really feel is also being a bit of an evangelist for the different work that's going on within the galaxy, because we're the ones who really need to be looking at that and seeing what needs support and energy and resources, and not only funding it, but also encouraging others to take action similar to what we've modeled. And so also it means being able to explain why we decide to support the things we do and to talk about that. So that's also part of what I think about when I think about what it means to be a unicorn. And I'll pass it to Chris.
Yeah, to me, it's a very interesting experiment. What I like most about it, I guess, is the fact that it indeed gives the opportunity for people to like make bottom-up decisions. And yeah, so we now have this double structure, which in the beginning I didn't see, and I was more skeptical about the experiment. I still see it as an experiment, to be clear, but I think it's a very good experiment. But you have now like this downstream, which is a given DAC, and this upstream, which is the unicorn DAC. And so that flow is a very interesting thing to see how we will make more decentralized decisions. And yeah, also it's a new, for me, it's a bit of a new kickstart of Giveth in a way of like making sure that who is in the core team right now has really said like and really gone through some hoops to really show that they are aligned with the values that we stand for, and that can avoid some future tensions that we encountered in the past. So I think it's a good thing. And I give it to Lansky.
Well, for me, the unicorn gives us the possibility to have a clear definition, a clear responsibility of what it means. Meaning everybody can be one, so we're still completely decentralized and non-hierarchical. But at the same time, it gives you also a sense of responsibility. Okay, you've got this money because you have to decide. So it gives ownership to people. Like people can relate much better to Giveth because it's their thing now. They have to decide where this money goes, or we don't go anywhere. And for me, that's very important. Something that it was harder to get from before, and a lot of the core people like you guys had to push a lot. And you will still have to do it, and we will all have to do it. And as Danny said, we will share this responsibility of being the ambassador and go like, hey, create a milestone because this is really important, and I'll fund it. And this is for me, it's a system that I think it can work really well. And also, I will put as a distraction that I have a pretty high fever, so I might faint at any minute. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, and I'll pass it to Kai.
Drink water, Lansky.
What's that? Drink water? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my video is not working anymore. Okay, well, never mind. Yeah, so we're streaming. So I've been a little bit distracted, unfortunately, because those were really beautiful things being said. I feel much the same. It's a very important step for me, and it took me a while to see what it really is. And it is, well, we can call it many things, like a steering committee or a type of leadership, open leadership thing that yeah, should help us manage the body of Giveth, or whatever, the community of Giveth, and in all of its parts in a very interesting way. So yeah, oh.
And you're back.
That's what it is for me to be a unicorn. And the thing is, I really I loved everybody from the start, always, the new ones, the old ones. So yeah, let's continue to iterate, and I actually have some ideas about like some little things about governance experiments, or little tool things I wanted to also bring to you guys. I don't know if there is space at this unicorn meeting, but we'll see. So thank you. And like, yeah, has everybody gone?
Except for me.
Lorelai, then, please.
I've been really focused lately on the element of like advocacy and like sponsorship and like being a council of uncles and being support to people. Like that's one of the things that it means to be a unicorn, right? But I just have been really like ruminating on that a lot lately and feeling that one. I think it's a cool byproduct of this process, like this onboarding process, that I didn't think about being such a huge piece in the beginning. It was more like getting approval, making sure you would have approval, but now it seems like such a great way to have real like resources and advocacy built into our team, which I think in a decentralized environment, like it's often missing that, knowing who is your person you call on when you need help. Yeah, that's what it means to be a unicorn to me this week.
To be a hero.
I like this.
Okay, cool. And yeah, I just want to hear from you guys. This is our comparing notes moment, and anyone can pop up. And I hope that we'll be able to note things down in this sort of what I wonder, what I learned action steps place. And really no need to go heavy on the notes. It's just to make sure that things aren't forgotten. Yeah.
So is this the part where we brought 3 things to talk about?
Yeah, this is your homework.
So I mean, are we doing 2 minutes per person?
Yeah, but it's like I don't know. I'm just gonna, if a lot of time is being spent on one thing, I'm gonna tell people to just write it down and move on.
Okay.
But it's popcorn.
Well, I got some things. Can I throw them?
Go ahead.
Okay. So most of my delegations have failed. So like I tried to donate to a milestone, and then either there was a bug or the milestone, so it had to be reproposed, and by that time something else figured it out, or it got full through other donations. So that's just kind of frustrating, or like, I don't know, not frustrating, it's just like, and something that we need to watch out for. And then it seems like we're going to have some issues with imbalances around ether and DAI that we need to be aware of. And I don't know the exact solution other than, requesting for donations in one or the other, kind of. But maybe there's like some sort of, like the design is such that it's supposed to be like there's a DAO with DAI and ether in it, and then everyone gets to delegate up to 600 worth of those two to any milestones. But because right now it's delegated to each individual, it's really easy for one individual to run out of DAI, another individual to run out of ether. And so maybe there needs to be like a wallet above that delegates as needed, that holds the unicorn funds. I'm not sure.
I don't understand that. Will you take responsibility for writing that down and working on it?
Sure. And then and I hope to have some brainstorming around it. But and then my other thing is that we just need more milestones in advance.
So how do we work on that? Like maybe it's time for another, like maybe a unicorn DAC update, like a little blog post update where we could share like, hey, this is what we've noticed. And one of the things is it's time to like make milestones in advance. This is an advertisement to those within the Giveth Galaxy. Like please start making milestones for things that you want to get funded. I mean,
yeah, and
what else might help with that?
I think leading by example is probably the easiest way, right? Like, we can write a blog post, but no one will read it. Like, if we put our milestones up and that's what gets funded, then that helps make other people want to get their milestones up, I think. And also having maybe a room where we promote milestones. It'd be nice if the room already existed, maybe the governance room. Or some other room where we just start talking about milestones that can be funded. It might inspire other people to make milestones as well.
Okay. Did you want some brainstorming around?
What do you want to say in there?
Lead by example with new milestones. I don't know, or with future milestones.
Anybody else got anything?
So I have a question on this. Again, forgive me if the question is stupid. I'm not the brightest match in the box today. So you want people to make milestones in advance so we can fund them, and that will fund their salaries. So is that instead of salaries? That's also one of the things that I had on what I wonder.
Well, it would be like if you know that you're gonna have a salary for the next, several months, then putting milestones up for it in advance, get it out of the way, and then just start collecting them. That's one thing. If there's recurring expenses, or if you already bought your flights, or you're going to buy your flights, or I don't know. There's just being on the ball with putting up milestones so that we have things to fund would be great, because it's really hard to find things to fund.
Yeah.
Babe, you were saying that you wanted some brainstorming around this other wallet thing. I'm curious, maybe not like brainstorming that right now. It sounds really heady and I want space for other people, but who would you want to brainstorm that with?
Probably Kai and Linsky.
Okay.
Because it'd be great if it were just actually in a DAO.
Brainstorm about what can I call it? What can I call it?
About F-die ratios, or maintaining F-die ratios.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Chris, have you, sorry, I'm calling on you. I know it's supposed to be popcorn style, but is there anything that you noticed that you want to call out?
Yeah, I only had with one milestone and issue that came back, so to say. So, but that's being fixed, or that is fixed. No, not a lot actually. I think it went pretty well. I was confused about the dates when I had to fund the milestones twice, but now I have it in my agenda. So the deadline is then today, I would say, for me. And so yeah, just like reminders on the day itself don't usually work for me. That kind of stresses me out, and then I counter-react to it. But like, if I would just say, like, probably if you want to remind people, it's probably best to maybe just do it on a Friday, that they have to do it by Sunday or something. But because otherwise to me it's useless. But that's just a detail. For the rest, yeah, I see that many people don't understand really, even if they start reading the post, like, hey, okay, I have an initiative. Would it be relevant to, well, would the Unicorn DAC fund this? That question came back quite a bit. So like, I would say just a specific guidance in the wiki of like, these are the steps for you. Like, hey, do you want to apply for funding? These are the steps to take. I think that would be really useful, because now we explain it. And in the beginning, we weren't able to explain it really well because we didn't understand it ourselves entirely just yet. But the Medium post is more like about the philosophy behind it, and it's not a go-to. It's not a place where you can refer people to like, hey, you want to get funding, read this, because then they just get to a long Medium post and they get lost and they don't know what to do. So yeah, so that's maybe a thing that could help.
Sorry, what is the like action item on that would help?
Create a wiki post that explains how you could get funding, how you can. What are the how do you call it? Like the criteria to like be possible to be up for funding, and like what are the steps you have to take?
Well, I made a one-pager for you.
Is that the one that's on the wiki? Oh yeah, that's the one you sent to me. We discussed it. I don't know if it made it up already. I don't know anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Let's you and me follow up on that. We actually published that.
But isn't it just up to every individual unicorn? Like, isn't that the structure? Basically, every unicorn gets to decide what they want to fund. Yeah,
of course. That's not the point. It's more like if people want to like know, like, hey, I have a project and I think it's gonna help to give Galaxy forward. And before like asking the question to like other people, they can just already see if it makes sense to ask to one of the unicorns.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, Chris. I think you and I should bring that forward. And I made a note on it. Okay, something that I've noticed is that it's really important for you guys while we're waiting for RJ to fix this thing where to add a feature that allows us to see like pending delegations on a milestone, you know, those ones that are in the 3-day veto period. It is so helpful if you go into your delegations and click commit on the ones that I've delegated for you, because that way, you know, if Chris goes in and clicks commit on that delegation, then the next day Kai goes and sees that milestone and he's not seeing it as still empty. He's and thinking, oh, I'll put my unicorn funds till this. He sees it as like, oh, Chris is pending a donation to that, so I'll choose to send my funds elsewhere. And unfortunately, that little like DAP lack is causing you guys to kind of miss out on some of your delegation funds from repeats. Not like the money is going away, but you just lose the opportunity to delegate it that week.
Mm-hmm.
Also, let's see. Some things. Oh, I just wanted to say for transparency that I fucked up week number 1. I used the wrong exchange rate day, and it actually shorted ETH on milestones on like 4 of them, I think. But I documented it really well, and I fixed the mistakes. Yeah, just wanted to say that. Definitely for me, noticing it's a lot of like so much detail management, like all this spreadsheet stuff and delegating. is a little bit hard to do by myself, but now I'm getting the hang of it. Kai, have you added anything you've noticed about the experiment?
I haven't. It's just like what I wonder. I like this. What I wonder whether this will end up funding salaries too. And the whole thing is like, what are we actually funding? And I think there has been a little bit of talk about what it is that we want to fund, and within the range of this one pager, I think it's for me at least, it's pretty clear that we want to fund something that we think Giveth is needing. So it should all make sense when people. I think one of the goals is to find out how to steer it better by allocating stuff. So one of the thoughts I have is like, if I make a milestone, like if I have an idea for a task, should I just make a milestone for it and then prioritize my work in such a way? But it's not really in the depth to work like this. It would be a bit awkward, but it would be interesting, and it would be one of the things that would that for me are very valuable about the whole experiment, to have these kind of indicators. Yeah.
Indicators? What kind of indicators?
So what if I could make a dot poll vote on my milestone for people to like prioritize my work like the DAB does? Like we do it with the DAB Lumio thing. Because if I want to make it in advance, there's like always 5 different things I could work on, and it takes a lot of time to harvest opinion on like what should be prioritized next. Because it really involves like a thought process of people. But for the Unicorn DAC, they have to invest this thought process every week, and so it's very interesting because it makes it really works for me in a way that we now need very clear milestones, and very the better your the function is you're proposing. For example, like I don't know if it's the next topic of the talk, like what milestones were we funding, or if it's in this round.
Yeah, it is, and I'm happy to move towards that. That, and also if you want to just advertise any. I'm going to try and keep it short because I know we have kind of big topics.
I don't want to advertise any particular ones, but I was seeing that it was interesting. Way back, RJ was one of the first people who said, "Whoa, this is so scary. Like all these designers, they will make cool milestones and everybody will want to have this." And actually what I funded was RJ with most of my funds, I think, which is the perfect example why for me Unicorn DAC made sense in the end. We were funding the people. I even wrote to Wojtek that he should please make a milestone so I can give him some dedicate some Unicorn funds to fixing stuff in the DApp.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I see it in that way, and the only thing I wonder if we should not have bigger milestones to allow more, or not for 1 week, but maybe for a couple of weeks or something, because we really have a problem in my mind with keeping up with stuff.
Wait, I don't understand that last part.
So the weekly process really speeds stuff up, but it also goes the other way around. If you have a regular reward, the deal right now is to make like 1 milestone per week. But maybe we could condense those, especially now that it's DAI. So it would be a longer period, and milestones could be edited while they are being worked on, you know? So that's maybe an idea I can write down in a note here.
Yeah, for sure.
And whoever wants to go next with your experience.
Danny, do you want to, I know it's your first week, do you want to talk about what you funded just briefly and why you did?
Yeah, I was just looking for the link to that spreadsheet because I'm on my phone. I can't put that into comments. Could you put is it in the unicorn deck room?
It's here. I will get the sheet for you. Does someone else want to step in though?
I just don't really remember what I funded. I did. I know I did the office, and I know I did Kai, and both of those. Like, I feel like I want to make sure I think about infrastructure and the underlying, the bones of Giveth and those hard costs, and I want to make sure that a portion's going towards things like that. Then I also think about who are the individual people who have been diligent and present all of the time, and do they have outstanding milestones that I can put to? And I also think about, I'm just going off of what some of my criteria were without seeing the spreadsheet right now, but
yeah, that's to the things you funded.
And the other thing I look for is kind of a balance of strategic, like what are some things that by funding them right now, it'll inject some energy into that and get it going, because I think that the person or that task could use a little boost and has long-term prospects that if we get something into them and keep supporting them. And I think I did that with with Adam. Adam really wants to be supportive of the DAP team and has been putting a lot of time and energy into learning about our different projects and communicating that, and wants to be able to write for us. So I know I supported him because I want him to see, to actually have value instead of just knowing we value him.
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious to ask, like, all these unicorns here who have been funding milestones, like, does it feel random to you, or do you feel like this purpose of getting to steer the galaxy is like, do you feel like you're able to accomplish that with the funding the milestones so far?
I think it's right now it still feels a little bit random. If we grow, it might not be anymore. Also, the thing that like Griff now requested to like more create our own regular reward milestones and get these funded by other unicorns. I think in the beginning it will add to the randomness, because we will just like fill up what needs to be filled up so that people actually get paid. But again, I think if we will grow, that can help, and it will show some signals, like if we see like, okay, that person's milestones are consistently not being funded by anyone, maybe something is up. So it can become interesting in the future, but I think right now there's not a lot that we can get from that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I would say I definitely feel that stewardship and steering is a very important part of it. I didn't take this to be random at all, and actually kind of made that mind map to help myself be able to see, after I do the work 1 week and look through it, I want to be able to track that and look and see, make sure that I continue to build on the support that we start in some places, and also watch to see how we need to shift it from a really meta perspective.
Yeah.
And also from a personal perspective, because ultimately the community is our people. So kind of keeping an ear to different channels and hearing and knowing who's working on what and where a little bit of support would help a person feel more engaged and participatory going forward.
Yeah, I definitely see that like vector with the way you're funding milestones, Danny, that it's about like supporting the people who have been pulled in and pulling them in further and making sure that we're like valuing and not losing people that are resources to us. We have 15 minutes left in this hour. I'm happy to like talk beyond this hour, but if nobody else is feeling like really wanting to bring up stuff about the milestones they funded, then I'm happy to move on and talk about like one of these just sort of council subjects. Does that any objections to that? No? Okay. So I heard a few people saying this question about salaries. Is the Unicorn DAC delegations going to end up being the new system for salaries getting funded? That seems to be a hot topic. So I added that on there along with the offboarding process and Giveth.1 as topic options. If anyone else wants to add another one, they can. Otherwise, I say we just vote, or I don't know, just choose whichever is the more important.
Can we also talk about adding more unicorns, or at least put that as a topic?
Okay. Yeah.
Like when and how and who.
Okay. I don't know what's happening to it. I think Kai's in it.
Oh yeah, it's good. It locks the one who's editing it.
So, okay, what do you guys want to talk about first? Make a lot of noise if you want to talk about Giveth.1 more than the others. Okay, no. Make a lot of noise if you want to talk about the offboarding process. Okay, salaries.
What is, sorry, is it the offboarding of unicorns or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Offboarding of unicorns.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. So I heard no resonance for either of those two. The salaries question. Anyone?
I do have this question.
Okay, Lance, you want to talk about that? And then adding. Okay, let's just talk about salaries first. Are you guys okay with that? It seems like y'all want to talk about it.
Should be a quick one.
Right.
Can you also unlock the text field, Nora?
Oh, thanks. Sorry, I don't know if I had it locked.
Yeah, so salaries. I think we should fund salaries for sure, if we want. Like, and also, not like salaries are definitely the responsibility of the campaign. That, at least that's how I see it in my mind. But that doesn't mean the campaign can't receive help from the Unicorn DAC if they need help, right?
So right, we would, let's say person X salary who is on a salary / regular rewards, right? Has a monthly or a weekly salary and a milestone for that. And if we put there, that means that the owner of the campaign or the DAC will not have to delegate more funds to the salary. It will just like saving money to the campaign or to the DAC, to the Giveth DAC.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but if someone's regular rewards isn't filled up by the Unicorn DAC,
so my question here is, what's the incentive for somebody? I mean, the incentive here is for everybody to, apart from a regular reward, I'm just going to make a whole bunch of other milestones for other stuff, and then to collect both, right?
That would be the dream. Well, I mean, if they get funded.
But what do they do for their normal regular reward? So here my question is, where's the difference between what can I ask for money to the Unicorn DAC and what goes on my regular reward. And I don't even have a regular reward, but just making sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is, I'm always down for experimentation, right? Like, there's a couple ways in my head that it could go. You can just do a regular, like, hey, this is what I want to do for, you know, the next 5 weeks, or sorry, this is, I work for Giveth and do these things, fund me, right? 700 DAI, done. Or you could do something more interesting, like, this is a milestone for 700 DAI for this week, that, or for 300 DAI that says I should do this. Here's a milestone for 300 DAI that says I should do this. Here's a milestone for 300 DAI that says I should do this. You can, you know, mix and match and see, and then maybe, like, you can play these games. Like, we can play with the DAC, right? So, and if we want, or we can just keep it simple, which is all fine. We just have to communicate to each other what we're doing, and it's all open.
It's very interesting, you know. In the end, a regular reward becomes kind of security insurance against not being donated to, instead of what it was in the first place. Because I mean, in the end, like, you know, in half a year or whatever, nobody's stopping anybody from donating then to Chris, like paying for. If I had so much money, I would pay for Chris because he's awesome. I want to, like, you know, take the pressure off the Giveth DAC. So it's interesting.
I'm wondering if that, like, security is still a thing. Like, I don't know. This is a bigger question to me of, like, how is the Giveth DAC funding regular rewards, and how is that decided? Who deserves to get regular rewards guaranteed that aren't from the Unicorn DAC? And is there any guarantee? And does it matter? Like, I mean, obviously the only real guarantee is, like, you.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. So everyone in Giveth is kind of responsible for their own funding, right? And that's a precarious situation for sure, but it is what it is. And I'm cool doing governance experiments and having votes and making proposals and saying, you know, hey, I think we should add Michael and Jeff. Do you guys think that's a good idea? And doing that on Illumio and whatever. But hey, in the end, if someone else wanted to use our DApp to fund some other person who was putting milestones on, technically, even if, like, if Grace, I mean, this is like a weird thing, but what if Grace was like, no, I want to work for Giveth, and in fact, I'm going to create milestones, and then she got, like, someone else to fund those milestones for Giveth.1. I mean, technically that can happen, right? There's nothing to stop it. It's permissionless on adding milestones, and it's permissionless on donations.
Yeah, but
So
that's cool. Like, everybody can, or everybody in the end should be able to collect donations for whatever they are for. I mean, except you're talking about somebody coming, like, with exactly the same thing, trying to,
well,
it's a weird
example. Yeah, let's not go there.
Actually, that's not possible, right? I forgot, because for a milestone to be accepted by a campaign, the campaign owner has to say yes, right? So maybe Grace couldn't convince me to do this, or Chris, but Bowen, that, like, fake unicorn, right? Like, he's, like, totally, he knows social coding. He's like, yeah, Grace, you can post your milestones. I don't have any money to fund them, but you can post them.
You know, this is for me a very interesting thing and property of the DApp, and sadly something that's still not, you know, really on the table, which is, like, extracting data from our work in the DApp, like our data path, because a campaign like governance has actually members that are people that got milestones funded within governance or lead the campaign or whatever. If we had, like, a page that would display all the campaigns and their milestones or like people that make milestones and get funded, it would be part of the role sheet, you know, or it would be at least an overview of circles. So, and it's very secure in the, sorry, it's very secure in that way. Like I can be sure that a member of governance is somebody like within the hierarchy of this campaign. Sorry.
So right now I'm kind of the gatekeeper for that, because that's who's how do people get onboarded to create a campaign or a DAC where they could approve milestones? They go through the onboarding process and get whitelisted into beta. So that's something I think about a lot right now, because basically right now the minimum criteria are that one of us, somebody who's a unicorn, has to say, yeah, that person, I vouch for them. They can put their stuff up. Or in other cases, people have just said, yeah, I trust you, Danielle. If you've done your research and you think it's great, go for it, put them up there. So those are some of the things that it's funny when you use that example, because I think about as, like, for example, the auto creation of a room for the DAC and the campaigns. That's auto creating a role for somebody. What?
Oh.
Oh, God. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Barely, yeah.
A little bit.
We can hear you.
Not
Not
anymore.
anymore.
Okay.
Maybe she got a call.
That was a scream.
I thought it was Kai's baby.
Yeah, I don't think there's any babies in Fanny's house.
No.
Well, would you guys feel like we covered the salaries on milestones? Or like,
I think it's a really deep topic, honestly, but I think it'll just continue the conversation. Like, I don't feel the need to talk more about it right now. But
this is the nice thing about this. Every individual has power. They can decide to fund salaries or not.
yeah, but then
Yeah,
it's like,
but then we have a double expense, or a double stream. Maybe people who have regular rewards should only be allowed to make milestones that have external costs, because for what their timing giveth, or for some things that are not part of their roles, maybe.
yeah.
That's I think that's the current policy, unspoken policy, kind of, is that, you know, if it's part of your normal role, then for sure. But like Kai, for instance, does these bridging things. It's not really for giveth, but like he also has costs associated with them, running servers and his time. And so like Aragon paid him $150, dollars to bridge some channels. And same with Chris, worked for Aragon a little bit too, and got funding from Aragon. So, I mean, I think it's one of those things where Giveth probably won't pay you. Unicorns probably shouldn't pay you to do other things.
Mm.
But like,
Well,
Yeah, I think it's indeed something that will continue. To me, it's still a little bit unclear. But I think we can experiment and see, like, hey, if we do a regular meeting like this, we'll figure it out together, I guess.
My main concern about this topic is like, are we becoming a culture where you're constantly advertising yourself in order to be valued at and supported at a basic needs level? And that was like my biggest concern when like the thought of the unicorn DAC came about. And I've been pleasantly surprised at how, like, now that we're actually enacting the experiment, it doesn't feel like as much of a concern. Like, it's not a train wreck in that direction or anything, which I was a little worried that it would be, but I mean, it's always a question. But it's going better than I thought. Like, unicorns are really looking to see what what should be funded, what deserves to be funded, and what benefits us. And it's not just like, you know, those that are the loudest and the flashiest, most exciting milestones. It's like all of us are taking, all of you guys are doing a great job of taking time, because you know the community, to really carefully think about like what should be funded, whether or not anyone else even knows about this going on. So I really appreciate just the integrity that's going on there. I think that's a big success.
It's one of the things why we have this issue labeled on the DAP to see maybe the newest milestones, so we don't. That's one way we can, you know, avoid people like being overly flashy and, hey, I made a milestone. Just display them in a convenient way so people can check it.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys want to talk about something else, like adding more unicorns? Griff, I know you want to talk about that.
I just want to heat check at least. Like, obviously, we're in the process of adding Bowen, and as his sponsor, Uncle, I just want to see, does everyone like Bowen as the unicorn?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay.
That would have been easier. I just asked everyone in a message.
Danny's like shaking her head no. Just kidding. But oh, look at that smiley face. That's a winner. Hard eyes right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but then after Bowen, how long before we add someone new?
I'll be the first one to speak on this. I'm not ready. As the facilitator of this experiment, I'm not ready yet. I don't know when. Definitely another month at least.
Okay, so
another month, maybe 2.
What do you guys think?
Well, I think there's one person who's pretty ready to be onboarded.
Who's
Josh.
that? Mm-hmm.
Josh.
I think
that's my personal feedback.
Josh, Michael, and Jeff, I think, would all be excited to be unicorns.
Well, of course they would be. But like, why are you even bringing up my? See, this is a problem with live streams. Like, we need to be able to have conversations. I don't know.
So we can have them.
I think no, but it's we can have a conversation, and you can truly say everything you want. I think.
Okay. I will. Okay. Michael's been struggling with fulfilling expectations. So, and like commitments, he's been really blotchy. So, I mean, if you came as Michael's sponsor to me and asked, hey, how do you feel about this person joining the Unicorn DAC? I would say no.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
not yet.
At least I'm not saying that I'm going to try to add anybody, right? I'm just trying to like get in people's minds, and I'd love to hear from everybody else about like what timelines we're talking, because Josh is definitely on the to-do list, I think.
Yeah, and I would say someone like Jeff. I would also say no, seen or heard Jeff since we saw him last time, so he's not really in the community right now. So I wouldn't vote yes on Jeff. Yeah.
For sure. Okay, but what about, okay, let's just keep Josh in mind.
Mm-hmm.
How long before we like open the Unicorn DAC to other people? So Lorelai said 1 to 2 months minimum.
You guys are welcome to challenge that.
I think a month is good. Yeah.
A month.
Yeah. Has anybody expressed interest, or like is there a proposal for? So it's interesting. We're solving a problem that's not here. For me, it was always very opt-in. Like we asked around, and the question is still open. So. It's not something we should pressure people into, like you don't, but see the people that are here, and the people that want to be unicorns, they can ask. And if you want to have a cooldown period, that's fine for me, because it's yeah, it's getting a bit noisy even now with all those post-its here, but it's a new process as well. And if you have a new process like this, it's maybe better to have this cooldown. But as long as you stay the facilitator and have all the bureaucratic processes, I think you should be the stopgap here and say if you want to have, if you have the administrative capacity to onboard new people or not.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, once we have an Argon app for this, that all changes so much. But, you know, it sounds like with Josh, there's a need for him to be valued, like both financially and also like taking advantage of his wisdom more. Like I hear that as kind of the reason why we might want to invite him to the Unicorn DAC or might want to see him. But
I'm totally down with never inviting anyone. I think that's a fine strategy.
But like there's other ways to value this person, right?
Yeah.
Like besides being on the Unicorn DAC. And I think this experiment got really blown up over the past few months of like, this is the big new thing the Giveth is doing. If you're not in the Unicorn DAC, then you're not really Giveth. And that's just not true. Like we're just a small faction, and there's like there's so many ways to like to tap on people as resources and to give back to them that aren't them joining the Unicorn DAC. But maybe because all of us are thinking this about Josh as unicorns, we can have some power in helping him get that that more valuing, and maybe we help him make milestones for stuff. Or
no, I mean, I don't think we have to do anything. He definitely needs to get more roles, right? Does he even have a role
in the sheet? I can't remember.
But like, you know, I was just curious. I like a 1 to 2 month cool off period. Build a little bit of culture with the people we got, and then have something for people to come into that's more solid.
I'm into that. As a silly. Sorry, go ahead, Kay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, it's like I just watched Harry Potter again, like some of the movies, and it's very important, you know, to ask the question. Like it's one of the things, like in a wizard world, you have to ask the question. Until you don't ask it, you're just not ready, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. They have to come forward and say, I want to be a unicorn.
What Harry Potter was that?
I can't remember which one. I think it was like, it was the Order of the... No, I don't know. Oh, it was wasn't it this mirror? Don't confuse me. Different topic. You wanted to say something else, I believe.
I forgot. Sorry. Oh yes, I remember. Yeah. Is it always going to be at Friday at 8?
Oh, I don't know. I
say we do it all every month.
Yeah, man, oh my God, Lansky, you and Bowen, I just want you both at every meeting.
One of you has to move.
I think we need to start doing meetings where it's friendly to Asia or friendly to US, and just be like, okay, this month is friendly to Asia, this month is friendly to US, and you know, we do a doodle, and you know, that's our DAO, our time DAO, right? Like,
yeah,
time DAO.
And then we see, because sometimes maybe like in February, you know, there's a lot of people that will be in Denver, so, and then and then hey, you know, like right now there's a lot of people in Thailand, you know, and people so
yeah.
What time is it for you, Danny?
8 a.m., 9 a.m. now.
12 hours.
Can I get like a quick temperature check on roles meeting frequency? Like, there's either having one Asia friendly roles meeting and then per month, and then one Europe US friendly roles meeting per month, so 2 every month, and you have to only make it to 1, or trying to have some sort of synthesis and just 1 meeting per month. I don't know. I really would love some feedback on this.
I think what I really liked last time was this like preparation period for the roles meeting. So I think I even proposed to have maybe like a roles week, or at least a few days where we could have 1 or 2 meetings. I just feel like if we do stuff like this very seldomly, even this unicorn meeting, I don't know. It's always, I think it's exciting for people to really get the process and be there. And when they're there, the meeting already stopped and, you know, they do something else. And 1 month later, they always have to invest this time to get into it again. So maybe we should, this would be a good one to experiment with longer. But like I said, a few days or a week, or, I mean, we even meet in person, many of us. Soon at I mean, you do all the time. Yeah, we should almost we should plan sometimes for this. I think ERACON is a good opportunity to plan for. Okay, the team comes together.
Okay, this is an amazing idea. I think I completely agree with that, because any performance review or similar to roles meeting, it never happens. Sometimes, like in a month, you don't really have time to demonstrate anything really, or your people will not be able to really realize what your work has been, or there's been. But if we do it every 3 months, for example, and there's a full week, a roles week, that could make sense, because then you have a week to be forced to learn about everybody and what have they done, and you can actually go 3 months back to see if they have done something or not. If you do it every month is okay, but less than a month is like, okay, maybe, I mean, I don't know, my cat died and I didn't do much. I don't know.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I have also a strong opinion on not doing it every 2 weeks. I understand the Asia, Europe, US problem, of course. And we could find a solution then maybe once every, because it's actually normally only Lansky who is in Asia. So maybe we can do like 1 out of 3 that we do it on Asia time, if that's a solution. But I would also not move from every 2 weeks to every 3 months. I think that once a month was a good rhythm to continue with. But I do agree indeed with what Kai said, like having during that 1 week, the preparation of like you saying like, hey, today let's just all come together and now we're gonna like complete our roles. And hey guys, we're just gonna like hang out, and now in the second half of the week, during that moment, I'll be there, and now you can just like now we can vote, and then it's done, and then like people just do it when they're in, and now when we have that actual monthly call, we have time for your rows, or we have time to go in detail on some specific stuff, and I like that very much the last time. But every 2 weeks, it's like it's not that I don't mind a lot of meetings, to be honest, but I do really, really believe that it's going to make it less valuable if we do that specific one too often.
I just had another idea that we could really make dedicated days for, okay, this day is for creating new roles. And like we talk about only the new roles added, and if you want to add a new role, you should do it on that date, otherwise it's causing more work. Then we could have another day where we talk about, because there's so much stuff in there, and so I just proposed to maybe, or at least close my comments off, is to do this indeed in the aftermath of Eracon, maybe, and have on the spot there? Or do you would you like to keep it totally decentralized and find some other time?
I mean, the problem with Archon is that there's going to be a lot of, at least for me, I'm going to be focused more on Aragon than Giveth. So it's, I mean, the long-term vision is Giveth is on top of Aragon, at least in my head, right? So it is directed for Giveth so that we can get funding from Aragon to do Giveth, or like, or at least like we can build pieces that we need inside of Aragon to make Giveth work. But like, yeah, I'm focused on, I wouldn't be able to really pull off a meeting at this point with everybody at Aracon. I was thinking FCC would be the next big gathering, which is in early March.
But it is it's in Sydney, right?
No, it's in Paris.
Yeah, so EdCon is in Sydney.
Just to let you know, guys, like I feel like we've really gone through our agenda, and I'm happy to keep talking. But anybody who needs to go, very very welcome to go.
I have a meeting. I'm 15 minutes late for.
Oh no! You should have gone earlier.
This is more important. Yeah, but okay. Is there a closing thing, or do I just bail?
Oh, well, do you guys want to?
Love you.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
You can bail. Bye, Griff.
Bye, Griff.
Love you guys.
Love you too.
Did we end the topic?
No, Lorelai has to end it.
Nah, she doesn't. It's ended. There's this one question I ask myself. Is like I wrote here like, is this governance circle meeting? And I feel like we should have a governance circle meeting because there's so much stuff I want to talk about because of your glorious list, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
You know this, you posted this thing about the collection of decentralized tools and manifestos and handbooks, you know, and have crawling in there. And I would just like to know where, if maybe this is very random, but I wanted to talk about this, so that's why I bring it up. When I want to add like or experiment with new stuff, do you want to hear about it here, or should we make a separate meeting, or it's not really fitting into the community meeting? I would just like to talk about stuff that's possible and like what directions we should go, or what tools I should focus on with this thing, if I want, or if people want to help, all these things.
Well, I think it would be great to have, well, I've repeated this already now a few times, so I would say, yeah, like a governance circle meeting, in whatever way it starts, it will be a start. So I know you like exploring like the new tools, etc., Kai, so that could be a start. I talked to Josh yesterday evening as well, first in the group, but then also separately, and he's interested. It's like everything that has to do, you love like experimenting with the tools. He loves experimenting with procedures and structure, and I think that's also, it's also a topic that Lorelai likes a lot. And when I talked to Lorelai about it, like she called it the DAC toolbox meeting. So that's another way of calling it, but it's like, it's how you can do governance, and how do you model governance. So yeah, you can, but then you should start organizing that meeting if you want to lead that meeting, I guess. That is my feedback, personal feedback.
Thanks. For the thing is, there is like specific things, and also it's about, for me, a little bit about the Unicorn DAC. It's about gathering data and stuff. It's about what could be cool feature within Aragon sometime, you know. So it is concerning the Unicorn DAC. That's why I ask here. So for one example, I wanted to make a happiness index for Unicorn DAC that I would like to fork from this one operation they just continually track their happiness, and yeah, it's one of the things that could be very cool.
That's cool.
But yeah,
I should
and
just
to
do
me,
it
of course,
and show you.
yeah, I think you should just do it. And like if it's yeah, of course it's about the DAC because we're the ones experimenting with governance, but it's like about you implementing this and brainstorming how you can implement it. And if you want feedback there, I think a governance circle meeting would be a great place to start.
Yeah, this is one of the action points I took from this, is that indeed to start a governance circle meeting, which you're all very invited to. I don't know when. Next week, though. I don't know when.
Oh, next week. Wow.
Yeah, sure.
I love it.
Like no time like today. Faster the better.
Yeah. What's a good time for you, man? Or if you want to come.
Yeah. I'll just do it. I'll try to figure it out.
Okay, cool.
Maybe make a doodle with sometime our proposals, Sky, or something.
Nah, I just do it.
Okay.
That's nice to hear. I've been excited about that meeting happening, but knowing that myself, I'm like, oh, if I were to take on facilitating any more meetings, it's not for a few months. I'm like maxed out, and I'm excited, Kai, that you want to do that.
Yeah, same. So that's cool.
Should we clear up? Sorry, I'm starting to take over this facilitating. Should we clear up some of the notes here that are scattered around, or the particular question was about the action steps and stuff? How did you? What's your suggestion, Nora?
I just want them to be a spot where we all go in and look later and make sure that we're accountable to this. And I might go in and look at these and check in with you guys and remind you, maybe, not promising it. And I don't know. I don't feel the need to organize this really. And I did notice that, Kai, I think you just deleted the action step note I made for you.
Because I made it before you already. Sorry.
Oh, you did?
I could
Okay.
have deleted mine.
That's cool. That's cool. I didn't have time to look, but I don't know. This is just, I'm like a visual learner, and I like to, it helps me stay present facilitating, knowing that things are kind of being remembered somewhere, but I don't feel the need to organize it. If someone else is stoked about that, they can, but I'm fine with this.
I really want to say thank you again for this glorious tool. I think this is like one of the big pieces where we can, I see a strategy board. There's so many
different templates that you can add to the same board. It's awesome.
Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, why? That's my question. I have on purpose not registered for it because why do we need a new tool and cannot just do this in the Markdown thing that we use already? Is this one open source?
Not that I know of, but it's visual, and it's easier to collaborate on. The what is it? HackMD. HackMD is kind of glitchy and uncomfortable to collaborate on, and to me, like, I'm not a dev-minded person. Like, looking at a bunch of white text on a black screen just tells me to go away.
It does look pretty nice. I have to go, guys. Love you all.
Okay.
See you, Lansky.
So sorry you're sick.
Just
get better.
It seems like you can export all kinds of stuff from it. So even if it's not open source, there's even embed, you know, again. So We can have this on the wiki if we want.
Yeah. Maybe there is an open source version of it too.
Nah, this is way too cool. In a few years maybe would be awesome, but.
And Chris, there's like tons of different types of visual templates that you can add to your board and then take notes in all of those at the same time during the same meeting. It's just way, way above and beyond what you can do with a stream of text.
Yeah, of course, I get that. To me, it's just like I prefer to limit the tools, like in a sense that, of course, I don't like the Markdown thing either. I never wanted us to move from Google Docs to that one, but we moved there for open source. And because it's limited, we're now moving to another one than Google Docs. And it just makes that like documentation gets spread out everywhere. And that is the only thing where I'm like pushing back a little bit. Because I think what you're doing, co-collaborating in a document in a visual style, you can do that in a Google Doc as well. Not in the way probably that this can, but then you have one tool less and you have just one folder, well, one Google Drive where your stuff lives. And now it's again, we're scattering it out again. And it's like the thing I don't like too much, that's all.
But it is so, it's just sparking the creative mind, this one. It's even a Google Draw is not as intuitive and great for quickly organizing, pushing stuff around. I like this a lot. The question I had was exactly for or geared towards this should be curated in a way that it should be cleaned up or like left clean, you know, and not right now. It's still a bit messy. There may be some stuff missing. Like we could have just make it here.
Yeah, play around on it. I figure I would play on it too after the meeting because I was excited about it. Maybe make it a little prettier and a more making sense.
The thing is, like, for the designer's mind, the way here that we can separate and annotate stuff goes way beyond what you can express in something like Google Docs. So I do think it's we just explored it like children, a new toy, but with some experience, I think this will become great for us. Yay!
And Amy's really full of tools like this. She's always been a person that I've pulled from her tool belt, but she didn't show me this one. Well, are you guys feeling good? You want to check out a little bit?
I mean, we did not talk about these other things like giveth.1 and the offboarding process. I thought we would talk about it. I thought you were prioritizing before, but seeing that as this goes on very long, understand if we skip them.
I mean, I have energy to still talk about it. However, at least with the offboarding process, I was kind of hoping to have it be more sourced from, you know, a larger herd. But I have a document about offboarding that's a total draft that I could share.
It's a great start, and maybe bring it to governance circle meeting. A governance circle meeting for me should be a place to talk about stuff before it ends up being a decision in Lumio, or just maybe call it like a temperature gauge for like beginning of advice process, because governance is so heavy or it can have such far-reaching implications. It's nice to talk about stuff.
When you say bring it to the governance meeting, do you mean this new thing that you're trying to start next week?
Yeah, the governance circle meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like if you want to like discuss and strategize about like how could we offboard a unicorn, that is, to me, it's again the thing we talked about. Like then this meeting is more like the execution and like the life of like how we do our work. But like when like devising the actual procedure of how offboarding could work, there's some specific minds who really like to think about that and map that out. And then you can get those together in a governance circle meeting and really deep think about that specific process and work something out.
Sorry, Chris, I kind of missed the end of what you were saying.
But you already know it. It's okay. I was just saying that it's a good example of that offboarding, like how you would offboard someone. It's the governance circle meeting to me is a perfect place to brainstorm about this.
Totally. I agree with that. I'm excited about that.
Cool.
Because I just have this like dream that we actually like create a covenant together as if we're all standing around the same piece of paper and going, yeah, I think this should be added to the process, and well, I want to edit that one, and just like, I don't know, I'm like dreaming that the Unicorn DAC will be like, our minds will be like synced enough with each other where we can manage that type of co-creation, you know, from far and wide. That's another experience to me.
Yeah, but it's I think it is something that we will get to, and we are becoming more and more aligned in the way because we're more value aligned now. But I do still think like just like co-creating, if you think about like the reinventing organizations, it's still like that is to me more green, and like structuring it a little bit where you have like some specific people focusing on the thing that that their mind is attuned to.
Yeah.
That is more teal, and it's more like, hey, we came up with something and we're like specialized in this, or we specialize over the course of time in this.
I think it would be cool if like in the governance circle meeting that like like a pretty solid proposal for an offboarding process is created, and then that proposal is presented sort of, you know, by someone who is at the governance circle meeting saying, hey, this meeting created this template, you know, Unicorn DAC, would you like to use this template? And then that could be a proposal like within our group.
Yeah, makes sense indeed.
Offer this to you.
Yeah, and I would really prefer that more than even like this. It's a small thing, but like I must say like it doesn't bug me in like an extreme way. But like if you first discuss in such a governance circle meeting, like, hey, there is this new tool and it could be interesting for these and these and these meetings. What are the pros and cons? And like first try it out in that circle meeting, and then we propose it to start using it. Because now, for example, like, hey, we just started using a new tool, and that is going to scatter again our information, which when I'm like literally working right now on the wiki, that annoys me from that perspective. You see what I mean? And if you like first, if it's a process, it's easier to manage and to integrate.
Yeah, sure, but we're also like kind of slim on management here, right? And like I found this tool.
No, but that's fine.
Meeting, and it has to.
I'm just giving an example, but I mean, like it would if Kai, who loves like going in all these tools and doing comparisons and like doing all these things, and then there is this place where we can discuss that or any other tool, and there's the space, then some things will get through and others will not, and we will integrate it properly in the way how we model and map all of this.
Yeah,
that's all. But it was just an example.
So I did put the link to the document. I put it in the notes there, and Chris, I will put it for you on the side in the chat for Jitsi. If you want to see my sort of drafted offboarding process, it's like at the very bottom of the document because there's a lot of onboarding process first. They're in the same doc. So if you're interested in looking at it, feel free.
Is it an update since like the one I saw before, or is it that one still?
Because I know that I definitely shared this with some people. I can't remember who.
Yeah, me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kai, did you get that?
Oh, sorry, what? I was distracted by the glorious board.
Just that I put the like offboarding process drafts that I have in the like notepad that we're working on the agenda. There's a link to it now.
Awesome, yeah. So this is one of the things. Action step. Like if we have this can be such a great system. It took me too long to realize that I should use the nodes of my color, which is awesome.
I think they weren't really arranged by color at first when the notepads
that's true.
started out. Like it should have been columns of color, right? But it was like a beautiful diagonal thing.
There's many possibilities here. So the action step you just said was offboarding process to gov meeting. Yeah, I really like this. You know, it's because it's really one of these missing things we have is, I mean, we try with GitHub to have project management. I mean, I think that's probably Chris's. Chris is like, no, I just put whole comms on GitHub to have it transparent and open source, and it's nice. And now there's this one which is actually could be used for the same thing. So many possibilities.
I definitely think it works better. I mean, this is just like having a whiteboard in person. That's the reason I'm using it. I miss the feeling of being able to jot things down in a group of people that we can all see. That's it. I don't think it's a tool for managing all of, all of the actions.
Yeah, it's. I think it's great for work that is being done, maybe over a short period of time, and then do something else with the info that's here. I have to also go, and I operate the stream, so
okay.
This is the end of the stream, and I wish you everything good in the world. Thank you for this meeting.
Double Danny. Okay, bye Kai, thank you.
Bye-bye.